at 6 from the studios of Big Family Radio here in Accra. Now the top stories. Parliament's Health Committee has pledged support for nurses and midwives as key meeting postponed to July 10th. Minority leader has slammed government over Galamsey action. In the international news, survivors of Israeli airstrikes in Iran are mourning the loss of families and homes as civilian death toll surpasses 612-day assault. Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei has said that Iran's strikes nearly collapsed Israel. In the entertainment news, Empress Gifty calls legal win as court orders Nana Agradaa to compensate her. You can watch us live on Big Family Radio, Instagram, YouTube and TikTok at Big Family Radio and Big Family TV. You can as well download our radio app on the Google Play Store on Android and App Store on iOS. Let's go for a quick commercial break, and when we are back, I would give you the details of these stories and more.
Admission. Are you looking for an institution with a serene atmosphere in equipping you with the ability to deepen your understanding, in-depth knowledge in computerization and cinema studies? Then the answer is Big Family Multimedia Institute. The range of programs and topics like computer studies, introduction to computing, introduction to word processing and presentation, computer network, internet and social media, cinema studies, radio and TV presentation, radio and TV production, media law and ethics, camera and video editing, graphic designing, event management, marketing and acting. For more information, contact 0540-932188 or 0555-208056. Website bfmnetwork.com. Email info@bfmnetwork.com. Enroll now and experience the difference.
You are welcome back. My name is Esther Kusiak-Bubli. Now the details of the story. Starting with the local news. The Member of Parliament for Nabdam, Honorable Nawani Kurt Mark, has briefed the media on a meeting between the Parliamentary Select Committee and stakeholders to discuss the ongoing strike by the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association. The meeting, attended by the Ministry of Health, Nurses Association, Ministry of Finance, and Fair Wages Commission, resulted in the nurses narrowing down their demands to 4 key issues. 8% increase in basic allowances for all nurses, fuel allowance for approximately 5,300 nurses in specific categories, uniform allowances increase from 400 Ghana cedis to 1,000 Ghana cedis, research and book allowances for around 900 nurses in certain categories. The Ministry of Finance will study the demands and conduct an economic and financial impact analysis, reporting back within 2 weeks. A preliminary meeting between the Ministry of Health, Health Committee, and Ministry of Finance will discuss the analysis.
I want to thank you very much for giving me audience at this short notice. Members of the 4th Estate, you recall that on the 12th of June 2025, the Select Committee of Parliament called a meeting to discuss the ongoing strike by Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association of Ghana. In attendance were the Nurses Association, the Ministry of Health, led by the Minister himself, the Ministry of Finance, led by the Deputy Minister, and the Director of Fair Wages Commission. At the end of the meeting, the nurses reduced their demands to 4. Payment of 8% on basic allowance to all nurses, fuel allowance which is estimated to apply to 5,300 nurses of a certain category, uniform allowance increased from 400 Ghana cedis to 1,000 Ghana cedis, and the 4th one being research and book allowance, also to be paid to a certain category of nurses. they estimated the number to be about 900. At the end of the meeting, the Ministry of Finance requested for some time to study their demands and carry out an economic and financial impact analysis and report back. It is in this context that a meeting was rescheduled for 2 weeks. That is today, the 26th of June 2025. As we speak now, the demands of the nurses have been converted into monetary terms, and there is a need for a preliminary meeting between the Ministry of Health, the Health Committee, and the Ministry of Finance to discuss the outcome of the analysis. However, the Minister of Health and the Minister of Finance, they are unavoidably absent from the jurisdiction.
Still on the same story, Honorable Nawani reassured nurses that the Health Committee, Nurses Committee, and Parliament will continue advocating for their interests, representing both nurses and patients. He expressed appreciation for the Nurses Corporation and commitment to collective progress.
He therefore thought it prudent to inform the Nurses Association of the above development. I want to use this opportunity to reassure the nurses that the Health Committee, their own committee, and for that matter, Parliament, will continue to advocate for them. We are their representatives, and we represent them. We also represent the patients and all other citizens of Ghana who continue to work in our collective interest. I want to thank the Nurses Association for their understanding and cooperation. The next meeting has been rescheduled to the 10th of July 2025. Thanks for your audience.
Away from that story, the Minister of Education, Honorable Haruna Idrisu, addressed concerns about teachers who picketed at the Ghana Education Service (GES) headquarters. Speaking on the floor of Parliament, the minister explained that upon learning about the protest, he engaged the police to understand the situation. According to the minister, the teachers were protesting because they had not been paid over 9 months. He revealed that he met with one of the teachers and discussed the issue, explaining that the delay was due to the lapse of clearance from the Ministry of Finance. The minister reassured that the teachers' new clearance was pending and would be issued soon. The minister also highlighted plans to recruit 50,000 teachers and 10,000 non-teaching staff, stating that adequate provisions had been made in the 2025 budget.
Thank you very much. And proactively, Mr. Speaker, as I reported, timely, I was just arriving at the Ministry of Education when I saw a police vehicle and some group of persons around the GS headquarters. I immediately invited 3 policemen to my office through my aide, and I engaged them to appreciate what was happening. And Mr. Speaker, they drew my attention that there were those recruits who were unhappy about the fact that they have not been paid, haven't worked for the state for over 9 months. This morning, even before I came to this house, as I indicated, Mr. Speaker, I met with Dafor Eric. I'll soon share this with the public. And we discussed this matter. He indicated to me that May was when they got the clearance, August was when they were supposed to start work, and then they commenced work in September. But naturally, by December 31st, the clearance which was issued by the Ministry of Finance lapsed. I only can work with a renewed clearance. That is what I'm waiting for, and let them be assured. And Mr. Speaker, as I've assured this House, 50,000 teachers would be recruited and some 10,000 non-teaching staff will be recruited. Adequate provision was made for this in the 2025 budget. I thank you.
So, and then the only agent bill.
To end the local news, the Member of Parliament for Efutu and the Minority Leader, Honorable Alexander Afenyo-Markin, has criticized the government for prioritizing non-existential issues while neglecting pressing problems like illegal mining, also known as galamsey. Speaking in Parliament, Honorable Afenyo-Markin expressed disappointment in the government's inaction on galamsey, pointing out they campaigned on strong action against the menace, but have yet to introduce comprehensive legislation or take decisive action. The government is more interested in amending the Holidays Act than tackling the galamsey crisis that is ravaging our environment. He highlighted the devastating impact of illegal mining on the environment, including the pollution of rivers and destruction of forests, and accused the government of failing to fulfill campaign promises. The minority leader's comments come amid growing concerns about the government's commitment to addressing the galamsey menace and protecting the country's natural resources.
Interior brings in opposition talking about this law, and then the only urgent bill the Minister of Interior brings is that he wants to now amend the Holidays Act. Why? Mr. Speaker, no action on galamsey. We were told that galamsey will be tackled as a national emergency. Yes, we are telling you that there are other urgent matters that you need to bring to this house. Mr. Speaker, equally disturbing is government failure to act decisively against illegal mining. The galamsey menace that is ravaging our beloved country. In opposition, the NDC promised ruthless war against galamsey. They campaign on protecting the environment, ending illegal mining, and even suggested they will introduce new laws. A possible galamsey ban bill, they spoke about it, or at least revoke policies that enable mining in protected areas. Ghanaians took them by their word, but in power, these promises are proving to be mere rhetoric. To date, the government has not introduced any comprehensive legislation to outlaw or severely restrict illegal mining. There is no galamsey ban bill before this house, despite the crisis of poisoned rivers and destroyed forests. Mr. Speaker, even more egregiously, the government has refused to repeal the bill.
Before we move to the international news, you can continue watching us live on Facebook at Big Family Radio, Instagram Big Family Radio, YouTube and TikTok at Big Family Radio and Big Family TV. Moving on with the international news. New York State Assembly member Zoram Mamdani, in a conversation with former White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki, described Andrew Cuomo's decision to concede the New York City mayoral race as symbolic of a broader reckoning within the Democratic Party. Mamdani emphasized that the outcome serves as a wider referendum on the party's direction and values. He further noted that a core aspiration of their campaign from the very beginning was to shift the party's political approach from one that prioritizes lecturing constituents to one that genuinely listens to their concerns and experiences.
There's been a lot of analysis, a ton, on what your success last night and in the last couple of weeks means nationally for the Democratic Party. Unquestionably, it means something about how people campaign, but what do you think it means?
I think it is part of a larger referendum on where our party goes. And I think one of the hopes that we had from the very beginning of this campaign was to move our political instinct from lecturing to listening. You know, at the national level, after the presidential election, we saw that New York was actually the state with the largest swing in the country towards Donald Trump, 11.5 points, and that swing took place far from the caricature of Trump voters, instead taking place in the hearts of immigrant New York City. And I went to those neighborhoods. I went to Fordham Road in the Bronx and Hillside Avenue in Queens, and I asked those New Yorkers, the vast majority of whom were Democrats, why they voted for Trump and what it would take to bring them back to the Democratic Party. And again, what I heard from them was cost of living, was an inability to afford the very things they recalled being able to purchase 4 years ago. And when they told me what it would take, they said again and again a relentless focus on an economic agenda. And ultimately, in listening to them, we built a campaign that was explicitly about making this city affordable. And I think too often in politics, there's a desire to impose what you think the debate is upon the people that you're seeking to represent, as opposed to listening to the very issues that are making it difficult for them to keep calling the city that they love the city that they...
Moving on, Senator Bernie Sanders has praised Zoran Mamdani's victorious Democratic primary campaign for New York City mayor, calling it a clear sign that ordinary people are increasingly ready to stand up and demand meaningful change. Sanders highlighted the campaign as part of a growing movement that challenges the status quo and pushes for progressive reforms. However, he expressed skepticism about whether the Democratic Party's leadership will take any lessons from Mamdani's success. In a sharp critique, Sanders remarked that he doubts the party elite are willing to relinquish their grip on power, suggesting they would rather go down with the Titanic than surrender their roles as captain of the boat, even in the face of mounting public discontent.
Look, what is the Democratic Party today, Chris? It is, I don't think people can argue with us. It is funded by very wealthy people. It is run by inside the Beltway consultants who really have very little clue about what's going on in the real world. And that is why I think, sadly, Kamala Harris lost an election that she should have won. It is a party which is not going to take on powerful special interests because of fundraising fears. And it certainly has turned its back on working people. And Zoran did all of that. He changed all of that about. And the question is, and will the Democratic leadership learn from his campaign? I doubt it. I think they would rather go down with the Titanic than give up the fact that they are captains of the boat. But it doesn't really matter what they think. What Zoran's campaign showed is that people are prepared to stand up and fight for change. We're seeing that in the Fighting Oligarchy talk. We saw it last week. Millions of people came out to the No King rally. People understand that our political and economic system is broken, that the rich get richer and millions of people are struggling to put food on the table. They understand the two parties today are not responding to their needs. They want something different. And I think Zoran touched on that reality.
Survivors of the recent Israeli airstrikes in Iran have shared harrowing accounts of devastation, recounting how they lost family members and their homes in mere moments. Many of those affected emphasized that they were ordinary civilians with no involvement in military or political activity, simply caught in the crossfire of the intense bombardment. The attacks, which stretched over a period of 12 days, left a trail of destruction across multiple regions. According to Iran's Ministry of Health, the strikes claimed the lives of more than 600 people and left over 5,000 others injured. The widespread loss and suffering has sparked deep grief and outrage among communities, with survivors calling for international attention and accountability.
من اومدم تیشرتمو عوض کنم یه دفعه دیدم یه چیز وحشتناکی، نمیدونم حالا یه دفعه خورد تو ساختمون. همین که شیشه هامون خورد شد، کف ساختمون یه دفعه آوار شد رو به پایین. خانومم و دخترم رو دیگه ندیدم. من نظامی نبودم. میتونید بپرس. من نظامی نبودم. من کارم آزاده. پاسخی که در خورش باشه. زن و بچه مردم بیگناه نکشه. زندگی 42 سال زندگیمون نابود کرد.
بعد دیگه ساعت 1 صبح بود که تماس گرفتن، گفتم با ساختمان موشک استفاده کرده. من صبح که اومدم دیگه دیدم همه چیز تخریب شده. اینجا اتاق خوابمون بود، اینجا اتاق دخترم که کامل تخریب شده، آشپزخونه‌ام کامل تخریب شده. یه قسمت از خال فقط باقی مونده. ما نه سیاسی بودیم نه نظامی بودیم، شهروند عادی بودیم.
من با جنگ اصلا مخالفم. از جنگ بدترین چیز برای مردم. آخه چرا؟ من دوست دارم این زندگی باشه. بعد از 70 سال زندگی، 45 سال زندگی مشترک.
Moving on, Elijah Rotok, a representative of the Kenyan National Commission on Human Rights, has emphasized that despite the outbreak of violence during recent demonstrations, the Kenyan people remain resolute in exercising their constitutional right to protest. Speaking in response to the growing tensions across various parts of the country, Rotok acknowledged the challenges posed by clashes between demonstrators and security forces, but stressed that these incidents have not dampened the public's determination. He noted that the right to peaceful assembly is a fundamental pillar of Kenya's democracy, and citizens are increasingly willing to stand up for their rights, even in the face of intimidation or force. The Commission, he added, continues to monitor the situation closely and advocates for the protection of all individuals participating in protests, calling on authorities to uphold the rule of law and respect civil liberties.
Kenyans are still determined to exercise this right to protest, and they are proving relentless, and the happenings of today are pointing to a resilient population that wants to uphold human rights and wants to call for accountability. And so it is for the political class and the leadership to give them a listening ear and have their concerns addressed in a manner that upholds human rights. While the protesters are witnessing are disheartened because of the suppression and also because of the loss of life, the damage of property, the infiltration by individuals who want to cause mayhem or disrupt the demonstrations, then it sort of hinders those who would willingly come out to protest, and we have consistently condemned this violence.
Still on the international news, Israeli settlers, accompanied by soldiers, have launched a series of deadly raids on Palestinian towns throughout the occupied West Bank, resulting in the death of 4 Palestinians, including children. Eyewitnesses and local sources report that the raids involved both live gunfire and coordinated assaults on civilian areas. In addition to the fatalities, several Palestinian properties, including homes, shops, and vehicles, were targeted and set ablaze, causing widespread destruction and panic among residents. The attacks have sparked outrage among Palestinian communities and human rights organizations, who have condemned the escalating violence and called for international intervention to protect civilians and hold perpetrators accountable. The incident adds to growing tensions in the region amid a surge in settler violence and military operations.
السيارة يا شباب
شرف وقارة
يا ربي بس سمعت افتحوا مجال الآن اتحاد الجيش العالم كله يشوف خلي العالم كله يشوف
بالديار بتفاجئ انه في كلب الدار قناص ضربوه 3 رصاصات، واحدة في اجره وواحدة في بطنه وواحدة في زوره.
Thank
To end the international news. In his first televised address since the announcement of a ceasefire brokered by the president of US, Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, has declared what he described as a strategic victory over both Israel and the United States. Speaking to the nation, Khamenei claimed that Iran's recent military strikes had brought Israel to the brink of collapse, severely weakening its defenses and shaking its political establishment. He praised the resilience of the Iranian people and armed forces, framing the outcome as a significant turning point in the regional balance of power. Khamenei also used the occasion to criticize U.S. foreign policy, accusing Washington of underestimating Iran's strength and miscalculating its influence in the Middle East. His remarks were met with both strong domestic approval and international concern, as tensions in the region remain high despite
یکی تبریک